Hi. You gonna help me? 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 Now you gonna help too? Hi. This is Otto. I got my new Melly in, so they're sniffing that. Yeah, oh, good boy. Hey everyone, I wanted to make a quick little video. It was just kind of on my heart, I guess, to make right now because of my doctor's appointment yesterday. But I get asked pretty frequently by women how I handled, my period on trail, my endometriosis, my cysts. There's quite a few women who have some kind of condition regarding female anatomy, and they also love the outdoors, but it's very common that something that's going on with women is stopping us from going outside and hiking and backpacking for various reasons. Those reasons vary, and it just depends on the person, but it could be from extreme pain to just being really uncomfortable. But it's on my heart to make this video now because of a doctor's appointment that I had yesterday. This video is going to be partly about my hike on the PCT with all of my conditions, and also just other female stuff that I just feel better about sharing. And Chili Dog wants to share with me. Oh gosh. I had to reposition because Chili Dog is laying right here. He just had to lay right on top of me. Today I just wanted to make a video of me sharing some things that are on my heart. This will have a little bit to do about hiking, but in general it'll mainly just have to deal with certain things going on with me that I feel beneficial to share. The only reason why I find it beneficial to share these things is because of how many women have contacted me since I made my first video on my endometriosis and my main fear of hiking the PCT. And to my surprise, I got a lot of responses from men, from husbands talking about things that their wives have dealt with for so long and how it impacted their marriage. And it was actually incredible for me to hear the men's stories as well, because they were sharing how they had no idea certain things existed until they met their wives. And just the compassion I've been shown from a lot of you regarding this just has been so wonderful. So thank you so very much. But I do want to give out a disclaimer that this will have a little bit to do with hiking, not much, mainly to do with female stuff. So if that doesn't interest you at all, I would recommend you just getting out of this video now. This still is something odd for me to just share publicly and talk about and then post online for anyone to see. Coworkers, family, friends, strangers. It is still odd for me because it is such an intimate topic and such an intimate situation that I don't really talk about it with many people just because of the nature of the topic. But I do feel like it is helpful for me to share and to give insight on things that I'm dealing with as one human being on this planet, because I know that so many of you are dealing with similar things. They don't have to be the exact same, but I know that a lot of you can empathize with me and hopefully encourage you to be more open about things that you're going through, whether it is to get help or to seek comfort in other people, and maybe some inspiration on knowing that life can still go on and you can still do the things you love to do, even with these little conditions and unfortunate scenarios that tend to really hold us back. So like I said, I made a video before I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail about my actual biggest fear, and that was dealing with my endometriosis, especially during my monthly time where I have my period, and also maybe ovarian cysts rupturing and all of that fun stuff. So the first 2 periods on trail were not that pleasant. I think it had to deal with a lot that I was in the desert. It was always around 100 degrees plus or minus, so it was very hot. And when, at least for me, when I am on my period, my body temperature seems to rise a little bit, and I already have a little tiny fever. And so adding in the heat and the lack of water was not fun at all, just to be completely honest. And I remember one day, Vice, another hiker on trail, she came across me after I had a failed attempt at finding water that was supposed to be off trail. I forgot exactly, but I walked like an extra mile and like an extra 1,000 feet in elevation just to try to find this water source that I wound up failing to find. And I was actually very worried that I was going to have some sort of heat exhaustion and extreme dehydration, because on my period, I want to drink a lot of more water to stay more hydrated. Oh God. Chili dog. Okay, where was I? Oh, those darn dogs. The PCT was like right along here, and I went off on this like little dirt road down about 1,000 feet in elevation to try to find this animal trough with water. I still had water left, but I was so thirsty, I just wanted to chug a whole liter of water. So I felt like doing an extra half mile down somewhere to some animal trough was gonna be worth it for me, even though I was gonna have to come back up. I couldn't find it, and I actually remember feeling really nervous, probably one of the most nervous times I had felt on the PCT so far. And another hiker came along, her name is Vice, and she actually gave me some like Advil or Tylenol. And I don't even think I had any, I don't even know why not. But that day was awful for me, or at least those few hours. In the very tip top of the day, heat of the day, was not really feeling it. I was having awful cramps. I remember debating if I just wanted to set my tent up and just go to sleep. But I knew I needed to get water, so I had to keep hiking. And this particular day was when I came across Mike's place with a whole bunch of water there. There's like a water tank. And I remember being so thirsty and so desperate for water that when I got to the water tank, I filled a whole liter of water and I immediately chugged the whole thing. Without even thinking, oh my gosh, I probably should have filtered that. Later I found out that I definitely should have filtered that. There was a big sign saying that, but I was so desperate for water and it was crazy. I chugged the whole thing, joked about when I was gonna get diarrhea. Never happened. But that was one of the worst days for me. I was in so much pain, and every time, you know, I saw a hiker, you know, I was trying to like put a brave face on because I didn't want to complain, but I was not doing that well. And my next period after that was very similar, but something amazing happened. And you read about this stuff like online, but it's like goes against everything that you want to do naturally, and that is how physical activity can help lessen the symptoms of periods. And lo and behold, the more I was hiking and the more in shape I was getting and the more active I was, my periods started to actually get better, and there was less flow involved. The pain wasn't as intense. Yes, all of that was still there and still present, but my body seemed to really do something great with all the physical activity regarding my periods. So the first couple were pretty bad, and the rest that I had weren't that awful. So if you are going to be through hiking at some point and you are a woman, take solace in that it will get better. It should get better. However, there was one day in Washington near Rainier National Park where I don't know if it was from extreme physical activity or stress. I did have a cyst rupture. It was one of the worst days on trail, and I actually had to get off. But it wasn't anything that I needed to go to the hospital for. It was just I was in so much pain, and I just needed to go rest in somewhere warm and dry, which was not going to happen on trail since I was getting poured on. So I think maybe the stress from the state I was in and the conditions of the trail just maybe for some reason my body just didn't like it. A cyst ruptured. I don't know the reasonings behind it. So that did happen once. But overall, my experience with my periods and everything that comes along with it for me was better than I was expecting. Now, that may not be the case for everybody, but I do want to give hope to those, knowing that the thought of being like outdoors and camping or backpacking or hiking on your period sounds awful, and sometimes it is. I've had women ask me, about it and saying like, how would you just like willingly go hike on your period? And to be honest, my answer is that I wouldn't. If I'm at home and I'm on my period, or I know I'm gonna start my period, I'm probably not going to plan a hike that weekend. And I think that's okay. And I want women watching this to understand that that is okay, and that is normal, and that is even healthy. To be honest, yeah, like if I'm just doing a day hike with friends and I'm feeling the way I do in my periods, like I'm probably just going to stay home. But for something like a through hike or a big backpacking trip you've been planning, my advice to other women is to not let your period stop you from doing things like that. I'm not somebody who needs to be outside every weekend. I actually really like to be at home. I'm a huge homebody, and I'm actually kind of lazy with a lot of things. And so, yeah, I'm not someone who's gonna go and continue to be active if I'm on my period, because of my symptoms. Sometimes can be really painful and harsh, and actually I think it's better for me to rest. But for through hiking's sake, like I'm not going to stop myself from doing something that incredible just because of what Mother Nature has in store for me. And I think it shouldn't stop you either. The benefits hugely outweigh the negatives and the pain and discomfort that you will feel only temporarily. And I've also had some women, maybe not through hiking, but just going on like a backpacking trip that's been planned for months, message me and tell me that they've had this, trip planned, but it turns out they're going to be on their period and now they don't want to go. And I would highly recommend that you still go and do those things. Our periods are something that we know are going to happen every month. Some are worse than others. Like last period I had was so awful that I actually went and called the doctor because I feel like something is going on with me, and we all know our bodies. And so there are times when you may have to completely opt out because something is wrong. But especially with nature, the outdoors does something really incredible to our minds and our bodies. I just don't want to see any women holding themselves back because of a period. And I know that sounds really simple to say because they're painful and they can be messy and there's a lot more to it than that. But at the end of the day, we know how to handle them. We have to survive with our periods. We are women. It's something that happens to us every month. And they are painful, and we do have to take care of them. And I don't want to belittle it. But at the end of the day, we should know that this is going to happen. We should expect it. It should never be a surprise. And so we just need to do whatever we need to do in order to not let it stop us from living. I have symptoms leading up to my period, and I have symptoms after my period. So basically it's 3 weeks out of every month I'm dealing with my period, it seems like. So if you need to take Midol or Tylenol or anything like that, make sure you bring it. A lot of women like to use heating pads. If you can't bring maybe a heating pad while you're backpacking, but get some of those little hand warmers that heat up once you take them out of the package and they're exposed to air, and put those down in your underwear and up next close to your uterus. And, if you need to bring tampons or pads or Diva cups or experimenting with anything like that that'll make you feel comfortable, bring it. Make sure that you are just figuring out what works for you so that when this does happen, you know exactly what to do, you can tackle it, and you don't let it stop you from doing all the things that you really want to do. So yesterday I went and I had my annual, call it a wellness women's exam. That's what I think the place I go to, they call that. And I just really felt like I needed to go see somebody because, like I said, I've been having some odd pains. My period was the worst one I've had in years. I'm set to go get an ultrasound done just to make sure that I don't have another dermoid growing, or making sure that everything is normal for me. So I don't really have any bad news or anything, but this video just immediately has been on my heart to share because, dang, I'm not even trying to have children, and it just seems like for 10 years now, it's been the most difficult situation for me. And like I said, I'm not even trying to have children, but it's something I've had to think about since the very first night I found out that I had a dermoid cyst growing. Now, the rest of this video has nothing to do about hiking or outdoors or living my life and not letting my period stop me, but it's more about just me taking a time to, I guess, vent and confide and share with other people who may know what I'm going through, to also let other women know that you're not alone and this is not like your fault. It's not something that you did. This is just how life works sometimes. So some of you may know my story because of other videos I've shared, but I found out I had my first dermoid cyst growing when I think I was 20 years old. Yeah, I think I was 20 years old. The story behind that was I hadn't gone to the bathroom, like I hadn't gone number 2 in about 7 days. And I was taking a ton of laxatives because I was in a lot of pain. And the laxatives weren't even working. And I honestly thought I was going to explode. I was in college at the time. I had never missed a college class before. And I remember it was a Thursday night and I was in a fetal position on the floor of my bedroom, just in so much pain. And I missed my classes the next day, which was a Friday. Anyway, through a series of events that day, I wound up going to the bathroom a very, very, very little bit. And when I looked down into the toilet, there was maroon-colored blood basically everywhere. And so I immediately called my sister, and she worked at a hospital. She works at a hospital, and at the time she talked to some doctors, and they were like, yeah, she needs to immediately go to like the ER. But I'm a little bit stubborn, and so I was like, I don't want to go to the ER. I'm just going to go to urgent care. And through another series of events, I wound up in the emergency room and getting all these scans done, and they found, yes, I was severely blocked up. I already knew that because I hadn't gone to the bathroom in a very long time, and they found a very large sized dermoid growing in one of my ovaries. Now, a dermoid is a type of like tumor, and not usually cancerous, but they can be, so you do have to get that checked out. There goes Chili Dog. Good boy. What a sweetie pie. And so these dermoids tend to continue to grow, and they're torsional, and they will at one point start to try to rip off of the fallopian tube. And so I had basically immediate surgery. More details with that, but this is when my journey started with all of my health issues. And so they've had to cut open my ovary and remove this dermoid. And at the time of surgery, the dermoid was the size of a grapefruit. So it was pretty large. And the whole point of this is to obviously save my ovary and my fallopian tube, and to remove all of the cells associated with that dermoid so that it doesn't grow back. Unfortunately, the following year, I had another dermoid grow, but in another ovary. And the following year after that, I had another dermoid grow in the same ovary that I first found out about all of this fun stuff. So I've had 3 dermoids and 3 surgeries to remove them. That was about, my last one was what, 7 years ago? Something like that. I can't count. I don't even really remember, but it's been a while since I've had another one. Now, I did have an ultrasound done a few years ago, and it looked like they thought I had one in one of my ovaries, but it wasn't growing or like progressing, and so they didn't think it was a threat to my ovary. So I am going to go get another ultrasound done just to make sure everything's okay with that. However, getting back to my exam that I had yesterday, just a normal exam, pelvic exam. The lady who I hadn't seen before was absolutely wonderful. Like, she was so informative, which I really love. She knew actually a lot about dermoids, where some people I've gone to have never even heard of them before. So she was, fascinated, not in a condescending way, but just sharing about how and why I have dermoids. And it's really fascinating and interesting. I basically have dermoids from when I was growing as like an embryo in my mother's womb. So, all of our cells are trying to form together I know that's not a very scientifically said well phrased sentence, but I apparently some of my cells, like my hair cell, skin cell, or teeth cell, actually like clumped onto my ovarian cells, which is why years ago these dermoids started to grow. Now these dermoid cells usually these dermoid tumors usually contain things like hair, teeth, bones, cartilage. They're pretty gnarly little things, but the reason for that is because maybe a hair cell started to grow inside of my ovary and something wasn't right, so it created this tumor-like thing with that hair cell that was put in the wrong place, essentially. And so they are rare. Now, for me to have a dermoid grow in both of my ovaries is extremely rare. So at my appointment, we were talking about this, and the PA asked me, she goes, "Do you want to have children someday?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so. Who knows? I'm not there yet." And she goes, "Okay, well, I am almost 30. I turned 30 this year, and I do have a boyfriend who I see myself being with. So, this is a conversation that I think was overdue, but was really good to have." And she just told me, she goes, "You are most likely going to automatically be a high-risk pregnancy." And I was like, okay. And she told me to not give up hope for conceiving. She said she has seen women with scars all over their abdomen get pregnant, and the baby grows a little wonky, like the position of the baby grows in a way that's different maybe for a normal, healthy woman patient. But she's seen it done, and she goes, it is absolutely beautiful. But she told me to never let anyone tell me that I can't get pregnant. I have a lot of scar tissue over my abdomen. I'm in pain pretty much every day, but I don't really notice it so much because I'm just used to it. But I do have a lot of scar tissue, and I think I have like 12 different scars across my whole abdomen. And so, yeah, there's a lot of scar tissue everywhere, which can pose a challenge for getting pregnant in general. So she started there. Then she told me I have a very high chance of having an ectopic pregnancy. Now, an ectopic pregnancy is when the fertilized egg grows outside of like the normal place that usually it should grow, like outside of the uterus. And so she was explaining to me the steps in the process of if I start trying to conceive, which is not anytime soon, y'all. The second I think I may be pregnant, I need to immediately go see a doctor, and they need to make sure that I do not have an ectopic pregnancy. There's a lot of different causes for an ectopic pregnancy, but one of them is surgeries, scar tissue, any kind of intrusion in that area, which I've had 3 of. 2 on one ovary, 1 on another one. So it was a little disheartening because she said that at least my hope comes from that my dermoids have only grown on 1 ovary. And she didn't know that I had 3 on different areas. And so when I told her that, I'm like, no, I've had surgeries on both of my ovaries, she just kind of sighed and looked down at the ground, and just, I could feel, not that she was pitying me, but just like sadness for me. And now I'm not really one to just start worrying about things in the future, things that haven't happened before. I'm not like freaked out about it. I'm not like super depressed about what we were talking about, but it is something that is like weird to hear because I'm not even trying to have a baby right now. And it was just hard for me to sit there and just see this woman have that kind of reaction. And so basically, if I have an ectopic pregnancy, and maybe there's some of you watching that have had one yourself, or someone who's had one, per what she was saying and the little research I've done, they have to go in and surgically, remove the embryo because it's not going to grow, and then it could become life-threatening to me. And with that, they would have to remove like the fallopian tube or wherever this embryo was growing. And so that's why she was saying like, okay, that can happen on one side, but you'll still have a whole other tube and a whole other ovary. But for me, I've had surgeries on both sides. And so moral of the story was her just sharing how I have, all this scar tissue that might be harder for me to get pregnant in the first place. My endometriosis will make it harder for me to get pregnant in the first place. And then for the embryo to be put in a special place. Yeah, in the proper place is unlikely but possible. And I left the appointment just feeling kind of like, dang it, Like, I was just trying to get a pelvic exam. And like I said, I didn't feel like she was out of place. I actually really appreciated everything we talked about because I didn't even think about anything like this or know. And the reason why I think it was really important is because I needed to sit down with my boyfriend and actually talk to him about this. Now, he knows about my past surgeries and how painful my periods are, and he's very supportive. But it is something that I needed to have a really serious conversation with him about because he really wants to have children, and especially because we're not married or anything, and this is something that I personally think needs to be figured out before you continue on with somebody. And so I had a rough day yesterday, and I did cry a little bit, and I confided in a friend, and then him and I had a chance to talk. We're long distance, so it's not like it could have been in person or anything. But, I had to explain to him, like, I knew that me getting pregnant was going to be difficult, but it's not like him and I were trying. We're not trying to have a baby right now. We're long distance. We're not even married. And so this isn't really something that we, think about. So I had to share with him everything that the PA said, and now there was more things to think about. And, it is one of those things that I am insecure about. I used to be really insecure about it, and I know I've shared this before, that thinking that a lot of men wouldn't want to be with me if they want to have children because, I may not be able to give that to them. And it's such a weird thing because me being able to conceive children doesn't have anything to do with my worth as a human being. But at the same time, I do see why that is something that's not desirable to a lot of men. Now, I'm not here to just desire men and please men. That's not my role as a human being on this earth. But as someone who wants to be married and have a romantic kind of love and spend my life with somebody, it has made me dating a little bit more weird for me because I'm always feeling like I need to start any kind of relationship with them knowing, just so you know, all of this has happened to me. But, thankfully my boyfriend cares more about me than he cares about possibly having his own children. And I think that was really wonderful. I knew deep down that he wouldn't care about that. It wouldn't change how he felt about me, and it wouldn't change him wanting to progress with me in this relationship. But I think it's very important for us to also hear that from the people that we love. And so if you are struggling with something in your life, whether it's medically or just emotionally, anything, and you don't feel supported by the people around you, then that's probably hurting you more than you think. And so to really not settle and to be open with people and find the people that try to empathize with your situation. They may not be able to fully understand. My boyfriend doesn't really understand how I'm feeling, but he's there for me, and he doesn't really know all the right things to say, but why should he? I just know that he's going to be there for me, and he's not going to just leave me because of this. If he ever leaves me, it's because I'm such a sassafras sometimes, but it's not because of this condition that I cannot control. Yeah, him and I opened up a discussion about our future, about possibly adopting, and just another life lesson from both of us to learn that we can't control these situations. Let's not even worry about it until the time comes when we need to worry about it. Talking about IVF and everything like that is a big deal because it's a lot of money. It's I imagine extremely stressful, but I guess I'm just sharing that these kinds of things are good to know and to be aware of and to be prepared for. But my boyfriend and I talked about it, and we're probably not going to talk about it again. It's not at the top of our list of things to worry about. We're trying to be in the moment. We're trying to enjoy each other for who we are right now and be excited about the things that we can control, about all of the things coming in our future. And when we get to that point, if we get to that point, then we can put all of our energy into it. And so I just want people watching this to know that whatever you're going through, medically or emotionally, whatever it is, to not get caught up in all of these small details of the what ifs. And it's okay to be sad about something, but you have to snap out of it if it's not, especially if it's not something that's happening right now. Like him and I having a baby is not relevant to our life right now in any way whatsoever. And so it was important for us to talk about it, for me to share with him what the PA said about the possible dangers, about, me having a baby would really be a miracle, even though I think all little babies are miracles, but it'll be even more so like one of those like just beautiful moments that I can only imagine would feel like. But yeah, you can't let these kinds of things stop you from living. You can't sit and worry about if someone's going to leave you or resent you because you may or may not be able to do something for them. Those fears are in the back of my mind. I do bring that up to friends, but my boyfriend and I talked about it. He gets to choose, and he's chosen, and that's his decision. So I can't worry about if he's going to resent me in the future or if him and I are going to have a lot of stress or drama because of this. We are committed to loving one another, and I just have to trust in what he's saying is the truth. And so I'm not going to let that stop me from growing closer with him. And I have the tendency to want to push people away with this sort of thing. And so I'm just really trying to make sure I'm not doing that. Trying to make sure that this doesn't stop me from going out and backpacking and through hiking. I think women are totally badass because hiking and through hiking and things like that is hard in general, but then you add this kind of stuff on top of it, and it's just wild how mentally tough I've gotten just because of adding in that little piece of like having a period on trail. And so, so I just felt compelled to share this with everybody, and I really appreciate how much support and love I get on this platform. Like I said, it's always a little weird for me to post videos about this. I'm a very open person. I'm an oversharer, as people and friends like to say, but I also am pretty private in the sense of I don't like to air my drama or complain, or I don't like to air my problems. It's something that I think best happens usually, like for me on my own, like I can like internalize and work through things because I've really learned to trust my gut and my instincts and my logic. But with this kind of thing, it does help to hear from other people on what they've gone through. I mean, there's so many different things going on with people, and to just see someone online share something similar, for me, when I see it, is extremely calming and gives me peace and allows me to know that I am a human being and these things happen, and I am not perfect, so I'm not gonna pretend to be perfect. I get scared and overwhelmed and stressed and insecure and so many other things. But I also know that it's up to me to control my thoughts and to find solutions when I can find solutions, and to accept the lot that I've been given. I want all of you to do the same. Even if you're a man and you've made it all the way through this video, there's something that you are going through. Maybe you're the only one that knows you're going through it. This is for men and women. You may be the only one who knows what you're going through, maybe only a few friends who know what you're going through, but for whatever reason, that's what life dished out to you. Life doesn't care who you are, and there's so many different kinds of cancers and sickness and pain and addiction, and there's just a long list of so many things that every single human being is struggling with. And so to understand, like, you are a human being, and we've evolved to want to survive. We don't want to die. And so whenever we're faced with any kind of difficulty or problem, it is up to us to figure it out and to persevere. And I don't have the answers to hardly anything. I'm still trying to figure out the right answers for myself in my life. But you know what you deserve and how you want to be treated and how you want to live your life. So if that means going out and through hiking despite your pain and your chronic illness and anything you're dealing with, then you can do it. Your plan is going to have to be different than other people's. Your solutions are going to have to be different. Your techniques are going to have to be different. And that is okay. But you need to do what's best for you. You know yourself, and you know what makes you happy, and you should know or should be trying to find out what you want from life, and you just need to go for it. And you are going to inspire so many people because of that. And I don't want you to stop, and I want you to share it with the world. Social media can be a pretty dark place, comparing ourselves and seeing all these like perfect edited and filtered photos, but that's not real life, and I personally don't try to follow anybody like that. I like to follow people who are doing real things with real emotions and real fears, and they're still going after it. And so please do that for yourself as well. And make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who love you for who you are as a human being. And that's why I'm thankful for my family and friends who have been there for me. Even like my friend who has several kids, her third one was not planned at all, and it was actually at first a miserable time for her because it was so unexpected, and her feeling bad to share with me because she knows that I may not be able to have kids. And I told her immediately that she needs to stop that's not her fault, all of my surgeries, and she's going through a rough time, and I'm going to help her through it. And so understanding, like, even though my friend is someone who can have kids whenever, however she wants, and I may not be able to, she's been so incredible with me with all of this, and I'm so thankful for her. And so just remember, like, you can find comfort and solace in people who may not even know what you're going through, but to also know that I'm here, and I may not be able to respond to every single one of you, but I know what you're going through in the sense of being scared to do things because you're worried your conditions and your pain might limit you. But I see you and I hear you, and I totally 100% believe in you. I don't know you personally, but I know that you are a human being and you are strong enough to face this and to get through it. And that's basically what I wanted to share today. So, man, I really appreciate all of you for, sitting here and listening to this with me. And I know, like, there's going to be so many wonderful comments and messages, and I just thank you all so very much for that beforehand, because I already know what's going to happen, and, chili dog. And so, I want all of you to just keep going for it and know that a lot of times it's our thoughts that hold us back, not so much the pain itself, and to just not limit yourself and to give yourself the life that you want and that you deserve. Thank you guys so much, and feel free to reach out to me. Instagram has the best means of reaching out to me. You can message me. I respond and try to respond to almost everybody. Feel free to always message me. You can find me at The Whimsical Woman. And share your story. Tell other people about it. Don't hide from it. It's nothing to be ashamed about. And you'll be so surprised at how many wonderful things that you accomplished in spite of your chronic illness and your pain and your conditions. Anyway, you guys, that's it. Thanks so much for listening and watching and just, being a part of my life, even if it's through this kind of social media. Social media can be really beautiful and wonderful and inspiring. And my challenge to you is to share with other people and do it knowing that you're not alone and that there's somebody out there who needs to hear it. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Bye.